name's Michaela, and welcome back to my conversation. Motherhood is one of life's greatest joys, but not everyone can have a baby the conventional way. Some people become parents biologically, while others adopt or use a surrogate. Whichever route someone decides to take to become a parent, that baby is 100% theirs. But unconventional parents can and do breastfeed their babies, they just follow a different route. Today, let's talk about the different reasons for induced lactation. Let's start with adoptive and surrogate nursing. Unfortunately, all adoptions involve loss for a child. Even when a newborn is placed in the loving arms of an adoptive parent, that child is being separated from the only mother they have ever known. Maternal separation is hard on infants, and all adopted babies suffer this loss at birth, no matter the reason. Research shows breastfeeding to have positive psychological effects on both the parents and the child. Adoptive breastfeeding places baby back into the skin-to-skin contact. A successful adoptive nursing relationship creates a bond of love and communication. Even when milk supply is minimal and supplemented, the bonding between parent and child is the bigger goal. In 2005, the American Academy of Pediatrics started recommending that pediatricians counsel adoptive parents on the benefits of induced lactation and breastfeeding. During my research, I found information dating back to the 1970s in regard to adoptive nursing. There's a ton of evidence for nutritional and health benefits of breastfeeding, but nursing is much more than just a baby at the breast. It's also developing and building a bond between parents and child. Breastfeeding is an important way to build that bond between parents and child in an adoption that isn't there with a biological birth. And induced lactation can get the parents to that point. Okay, so our next group of people is actually a group that's very near and dear to my heart, and that's transgender women. And I actually have 4 kids, and one of them is in the process of going through transition. So this is actually something that she does. And I find this particular reason intriguing, having already said that either sex can lactate. Transgender females may choose to induce for a couple of different reasons: to increase breast size as well as the possibility of breastfeeding. Let me lay out a disclaimer here that I still know very little about this subject, but I did want to include it in my list because, like I said, one of my children is actually going through this right now. Information was really hard to find, not much out there. I did find a case report published in 2018 about a 30-year-old transgender woman who had been receiving female hormone therapy for about 6 years. Her partner was pregnant, but her partner had decided that she didn't want to feed the baby. So the woman went to her doctor and spoke about her desire to breastfeed their baby. Her doctor encouraged her, made adjustments to her hormone therapy regimen, and advised her to acquire domperidone. Now, very quickly, let me give you a little background on domperidone. The FDA banned domperidone in 2004, so never at any time will I encourage you to buy it, because technically in our country it is illegal. Now, what the FDA said is that their tests show that it's associated with sudden cardiac death. The risk is dose dependent and appeared to be very high doses in the elderly. So that's why we don't have it here. It's actually very common in every other country but the United States. In Australia in 2015, their review concluded that there are that the limited case report supporting an association with cardiac dysfunction and the frequently cited case control studies are flawed. Their review does not support the view that domperidone presents intolerable risks. So I just want to put that out there. That's it. I find it very encouraging that her doctor gave her a prescription for it, and she did get it. She acquired it from another country because, like I said, she can't get it here. Her doctor also told her to get a breast pump, and at first she was pumping for just 5 minutes every, I think, 3 hours, and then that gradually went up. At 1 month, when she went in to see her doctor, she was getting drops. At 3 months, when she went back to see her doctor, she was producing 8 ounces of milk a day. and she actually fed their baby exclusively just breast milk for the first 6 weeks after her birth. I don't know. Sorry, I don't know if it was a boy or a girl, but she fed that baby for 6 weeks, and then they made the decision to supplement with formula, just to make sure that the baby was getting sufficient milk volume. But the baby's 6 months old now, I think, and she continues to nurse the baby. So that's amazing. I mean, who would have thought that? I think in the case study I read, it said that this was the first documented case of a transgender woman breastfeeding her baby. So that's really exciting. And induced lactation for transgender women is definitely going to be difficult, but it's not impossible, as I just told you. You know, having your doctor on board and involved is going to be so important, because he's going to be the one that adjusts your hormones, tells you if things are out of whack or whatever. So it's really important, if you are in this group, that you let your doctor know what you're trying to do, and that way he can make adjustments for you. I think that even if a transgender woman induces and doesn't maintain the lactation milk, I think that it's a great affirmation of being a woman, and it strongly reinforces a sense of womanhood and femininity, and all those things that that's a part of them that they haven't been able to express before now. So I think that's really great that this is something that is being done, that can be done. So there are a few medical reasons for inducing lactation. If you've been following along with my podcast and you heard the first episode, I originally induced lactation for medical reasons, and it has been amazing for me. What a journey. Not only have I discovered something beautiful and amazing, but all those problems are gone. They literally cease to exist. So for me, it's been everything I've wanted it to be. And I'm sure that that's not the case for everybody, but it definitely has worked for me. And I'm thankful every day for having discovered this. But, there's a couple of other different medical reasons that people might have for inducing. In 2017, researchers from Lund University in Sweden found that human milk contains a protein, alpha-lactalbumin, made lethal to tumor cells, or Hamlet as they call it. And Professor Svarnborg says that Hamlet becomes a cancer-fighting agent once it hits the stomach. How come we don't know about this? How come there's nobody talking about this? A study of bladder cancer patients were injected with a Hamlet solution, and the solution killed cancer cells, and the size of the tumors reduced in size within 5 days. Hamlet kills only cancer cells and does not affect healthy cells. I still don't understand why this isn't a more aggressive treatment, or at least why isn't there more aggressive study? Because there isn't, at least not that I could find. Lab experiments show that Hamlet kills 40 different types of cancer. And there are reports over the years of people using human milk to cure their own cancers. I found a story of a man who bought donor milk to cure his own prostate cancer. And in 2009, ABC reported that a man in the UK took daily doses of his daughter's milk to help treat an alleged terminal case of colon cancer that had spread to his liver and lymph nodes. So, those are some pretty good reasons to induce lactation. I'm baffled by, the possibilities of a cure for cancer that we're not even looking at. I've heard over and over that the United States is on the cutting edge of scientific discovery, and yet all the research that I found was in another country. So that's a little disheartening. Let's move on to an age-old profession. And no, I don't mean prostitution. I actually mean being a wet nurse. And for you that don't know, a wet nurse is a lactating woman whose breast feeds a child that is not her own. This was once a highly regarded and well-paid profession. For most of our history, wet nurses were common practice. The wealthy used wet nurses, who in turn made an excellent living. Sisters and friends nursed each other's babies, and no one ever gave it a second thought. Prior to the bottle, wet nursing was also a necessity. Many babies would have not survived without a wet nurse. But the introduction of formula and the greater availability of animal milk and the creation of the feeding bottle reduced the need for wet nurses through the second half of the 19th century. With the rise of formula, wet nursing declined. The once normal practice has become taboo in the West. The practice remains controversial. In 2007, the breastfeeding group Lactation League was discouraging the practice. Their biggest concern was infection being passed from nurse to child. And there's no research available that talks about how wet nursing someone else's baby just feels like the right thing to do. And it doesn't always have to be an extreme case. It's not just about milk. It's about closeness, comfort, and the familiarity it brings. Despite the warnings and possible risks in this age of ride sharing, couch surfing, and spare room sharing, milk sharing is quickly becoming something families try. An informal poll in 2016 from netmoms.com found that 1 in 25 women have shared milk, and 5% of families have used regulated milk donations from milk banks. There's a story online of a sister babysitting her nephew. He wouldn't accept his mom's expressed milk in a bottle, so she did the only logical thing. She popped the baby on her breast and fed him till he fell asleep. And to me, that sounds perfectly normal. Why wouldn't you do that? If the baby's not going to take the bottle, you're not going to want to listen to that baby scream until mom gets home. So if you can feed it, why wouldn't you? I also read an article about a 63-year-old grandmother who in 2013 was nursing her twin grandbabies, and those babies' mother had died in childbirth. With no help from any family, as a matter of fact, the mother's family told the grandma they didn't want the twins. They didn't want anything to do with them. So the grandma was at a loss as to what to do. They lived in poverty, and she was already caring for a bedridden husband, and she couldn't afford a steady flow of formula. Members of her community encouraged her to let the babies suck at her breast, and they told her that the suckling motion would eventually make milk. So she did, and it wasn't long before she had milk. She breastfed and supplemented with formula when she could. We are seeing this taboo very, very, very slowly lift. We may also see a return to this age-old practice. Okay, the last thing I want to talk about is breastfeeding your partner. Breastfeeding your partner is okay. I don't care what anybody says or what anybody tells you. It's not perverted, gross, or icky if you want to feed your partner. Your partner may even ask to taste your milk if you're a pregnant mom or if you started lactating in hopes of enticing him. I don't think that's going to be hard. Anyway, a lot of men that I talk to are curious, if they haven't already tried it, about breast milk. They are also still sexually interested in breasts even when they're filled with milk. The breast can be more sensitive to breast stimulation when lactating, and you may enjoy breastfeeding your partner. Sharing this experience with your partner can not only be satisfying, but it can bring you closer as a couple. There are some benefits to allowing your partner to breastfeed. There is some talk. I didn't find any definitive research, but there is talk that having your breast sucked on helps prevent breast cancer. So, if for no other reason, just that the possibility exists that it could help prevent breast cancer, you should have somebody sucking on your breasts. Breastfeeding provides health benefits, and some of those health benefits associated with breast milk are: breast milk has been used as medicine or a medical treatment for certain types of patients. I talked about that already with the cancer. Breastfeeding can potentially boost your partner's immune system as well as nutritional status. Breastfeeding can increase intimacy, and sharing this part of you with your partner is a very special and a very satisfying experience. It also heightens arousal. Some women are sensitive to breast and nipple stimulation. Breastfeeding a partner can bring about an unexpected and enjoyable aspect to your sexual relationship. If you're trying to induce and, for whatever reason, and you're not getting a good milk supply, Allowing your partner to suckle will help boost your milk supply. It can balance out uneven breasts. And I know you can't see me, but I'm raising my hand because that's me. I have the right side is bigger than the left side. And when I have my partner and he suckles, it really does help even them out. There are times when I don't see him for a couple of weeks. And then, I really see how uneven I am. But as soon as I'm back to being with him, it just evens right out. It's also a really good bonding time to love and nurture someone. And some women experience fulfillment and happiness from physical and emotional bonding that they have while breastfeeding. So, there's a lot of good reasons to induce lactation. These are just a few of the ones that I think are important. Definitely, sharing this experience with a partner, whether you're in a male-female relationship or, female-female or male-male. It doesn't matter. I was going to keep going, but it doesn't really matter. Having the opportunity to induce lactation and share it with somebody that you love or that you care about just creates such an intimacy between two people that it's unbelievable. So that's our conversation for tonight. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did, and thank you for joining me.